Episode 3 of Three Body Problem is titled Destroyer of Worlds, which is ironic given the show creators have already destroyed one world in their filmography. Anyway, I digress. We actually begin the episode with us jetting off to Switzerland. We're at the European Council for Nuclear Research, or CERN for short. Clarence Shih shows up and learns that half a dozen projects have been abandoned and over 30 scientists killed in recent years. One of them happens to have been killed on his knees, with his head in the bath. Clarence goes hunting and looks through the man's possessions, and just like that, he finds one of those headsets in a safe, grins to himself and takes it back to HQ. Meanwhile, the Oxford Five join together and discuss what's transpired so far. Will decides to take his moment and speaks to Jin alone. He has some good banter and the talking comes easy, but he doesn't open up and tell her about his cancer, nor his feelings for her. As for Augie, she wanders into Jack's bedroom and finds a headset. Just like Jack before, she puts on the headset and is slashed down. She's shocked, especially as Jin and Jack are engrossed in the game and missing the fact that Vera also played this right before she killed herself. Jack has no idea who invited him, and despite having state-of-the-art security in his complex, has no idea who showed up and placed the headset there. Saul believes it's dangerous and encourages the pair not to play anymore. After all, if this thing can hack into your brain at that level with the cells and manipulate what you do, then it may have made Vera kill herself. Augie makes the pair promise not to play, but of course they're lying. Jin is a proper keno with this game, and she has a whiteboard and a whole bunch of experiments she's done. Both Jack and Jin decide to team up together in a two-player mode, but the follower is there when they jump into the game. She apparently shows up in every civilization and remembers all the times she dies. Jin and Jack both show up to see the Pope, and Jin explains that this is a three-body star problem.
He said it!
Jin explains her theory to the Pope, but he's not happy and decides to have her burned. Unfortunately, the entire world turns to chaos and burns around them. Jin and Jack are correct though, in their assumption that this is a three-body star problem.
Oh, that's why they call it that.
So they themselves aren't burnt to a crisp and they move on to the next level. Meanwhile, Clarence has done some digging on this headset and found some intriguing revelations. Apparently, it has an oxygen meter, a brainwave sensor, and a retinal scanner too. It has a whole bunch of biometric data, which means that while these guys play the game, someone on the other end is playing them. It could be a recruitment tool of some kind. But for what? Outside the game, Will ends up having an operation, but whether it's the effect of the anesthesia or there's something more going on, he starts speaking in riddles. He explains that Raj, Jin's boyfriend, is chaos and always smiling, and laughs at Jack for wearing a silly hat, even though he's not actually wearing one. Meanwhile, Augie finds herself backed into a corner by her business associate. Her sponsors are pushing her to start up the nanofiber tech again. The guy is convinced that they can be the first in this field and believes Augie is having a mental breakdown. He tells her that as a CSO, she has a responsibility, and if she's not going to start it up herself, well, they're going to do it without her. When Augie starts the machine up again in private, the countdown suddenly returns, and she hurriedly switches it off before her timer reaches 0. She's spooked and finds Saul in a flustered state. She begs him to come over, but of course he's not alone and is with someone else in bed. Augie hangs up. Back in the game with Jin and Jack, level 3 begins. They're in Sangdu, where Kublai Khan hangs out. They find Follower here, but she's part of the army, and she's losing faith in Jin to save them. When the pair show up to see the Khan, Newton and Turing are there, and it turns out they've set up the 30 million strong army down below into a specific formation of ones and zeros. Binary, like a human computer. They hold a bunch of flags which they turn this way and that, eventually leading to what seems to be a solution. The human abacus reads that it's going to be chaos for 8 months and 3 days. It would appear that the other two people here are also players, but Jin is convinced that it doesn't work, and proves it. Given the three-body problem, the eclipse causes the army to suddenly float up into the air, given the gravitational force of the 3 suns. Through all of this, despite the impossible challenge, Jin realises their true purpose is to save the people, not necessarily the world, and with that, they move on to level 4. So who's actually monitoring this game? Well, it turns out Mike Evans from before is the one fronting this, and he's been watching Jin and Jack closely. He wants a pair vetted for the London Summit, while Mike seems to be speaking to someone on a radio. It appears to be some sort of AI or alien entity, whom he calls My Lord, and the voice matches that strange woman inside the game who has been telling Jin and Jack whether they've proceeded or not. This could also link into the 60s and 70s and the message Yu Wenji sent. Anyway, Jin and Jack both received the invite to head over to the Sunset Lounge at 10 PM that night in Shoreditch. The place in question is a rather run-down, seedy warehouse, but Clarence watches them with interest outside as they head in. He doesn't see who they meet though, which happens to be that same strange woman who spoke to Augie in the alleyway. Apparently, all the answers to their questions can be found in level 4. Placing the headsets on, Level 4 sees that strange AI voiced woman joined by the follower. They explain that with a planet full of cataclysms and chaos, there's no hope of ever keeping a civilization going for an extended period of time. There's only one solution: to flee. The pair explain that they built an interstellar fleet for civilization number 9478 and they're inbound to our planet. This civilization is called the Sangti, and the first person to make contact with them was from China. Of course, it was Ye Wenji. Sangti Ren means three-bodied people in Chinese. They're currently 4 light years away right now, but en route to Earth. Jack believes the whole thing is a scam and leaves incredulously, but Jin is into this and believes the theory is sound. Jin's loyalty is rewarded with another invite to become part of the organisation to join champions from across the world. She's given a card with coordinates to her next location. We also learn more about her past and why she cares so for the Sangti. It turns out Jin was ripped from her home in the past during the flood in Hubei. Meanwhile, Clarence has followed Jack and waits outside his house. As for Jack, he finds himself in somewhat of a pickle. Electrics in his house continue to blink out, and after his refusal to get involved with the Sangti, finds himself confronted by that strange woman who happens to be in his house. Unfortunately, free to go means something very different to the Sangti people. All you had to do was keep playing, she says, and stabs him, leaving him in a bloody pool on the ground. The glass windows, however, are cracked from the force of her push. Weirdly, none of this can be seen by Clarence, who happens to be outside and watching the house closely. The woman blinks out from the camera and disappears without a trace. Thanks for watching, and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel, your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler, and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next video.